Avast ye scurvy dogs. I be Lupinefiasco. This be daily FaB gameplay, and today you're gonna walk the plank. I'm kidding, we're gonna play some Flesh and Blood. What we do here is review replays of games I played on the challengeshard.net client days or weeks ago, after enough time has passed, that I lose my bias and can more objectively judge the quality of my games. I'll be talking through turn cycles and giving my thoughts on the lines I would take now, comparing them to the lines I took then at the time of recording. We either learn from my mistakes or reinforce good play patterns with the goal of tightening and optimizing our gameplay in the future to take down paper events and walk away with that shiny, shiny cardboard. If you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to my channel. It's the best free way to support me and to make sure that you see every new upload daily FaB gameplay in your video feed. You can find a FaBery link to the decklist I'm playing here in the video description below. You'll also find a link to my Patreon. Subscribers at the Arc Lightning tier and higher will get access to my matchup guides for all my decks forever. Want to tighten and optimize your gameplay in real life? Use my affiliate link in the video description to buy your very own Codex journal, and be sure to use code LUPINE10, that's LUPINE10, at checkout to receive 10% off your order. Finally, daily FaB gameplay is brought to you in part by Hemel from The Bazaar. It's never been more affordable to play in the Flesh and Blood. Players have been buying the cards they need from Hemel for years. I started buying from him in 2023 and have never found a better deal. The Bazaar's prices are the lowest for singles, full sets, and class sets, including new releases. Pre-order High Seas set bundles and singles now. Pre-orders are available to ship internationally, and singles can be purchased in person at US Nationals in Vegas. Message Hemel on Blue Sky, Discord, email, or Twitter to see what he can do for you. Now, let's get ready to keelhaul some landlubbers. I want to give a big shout out to Brock, B-R-O-K, over on FaBery for making this list publicly available. It's in the video description below. I think it's a really cool take on Harpoon Marlynn, and it's got some cards in it that I would not have expected to be good. First among them being Golden Tipple. We're going to see it later this game, how it works, but card is insane. Really, there's a lot in this list that I like. Got a high blue count, it has impactful turn cycles, and if you can keep a gold hanging around, then you're always going to be able to do something cool on your turn. Playing against Prism, we won the die roll. We have chosen to go second, the reason being that we want to be able to respond to turn cycles like this, where we can block Prism, keep her off of generating Soul and grabbing a Figment on turn 0, and then on our first turn, we get to actually send real meaningful damage. Blocking this Wartune Herald, we have two real avenues to do it. The first, we could put Conqueror of the High Seas in front of it, card as a popper. It has 7 power, so it can get through Triumph, or we could just put the other 3 cards in our hand in front of the Herald. And we're playing around 2 different things. The first is Angelic Wrath. If we pop the Wartune Herald, if Prism has Angelic Wrath, it doesn't matter because the attack is just canceled. If Prism does have Angelic Wrath and we put the other 3 cards in our hand in front of the Wartune, then we're just kind of out of luck. The other option though is if we block with Conqueror and Prism's turn just ends, our hand is not very good. We have the Tipple that we can use to draw into potentially more cards, but we're still missing an attack. And if we don't draw a Harpoon with the Tipple, then we just don't have a real turn. So I want to block with the other 3 non-Conqueror cards. If Prism has Angelic Wrath, then we're just sad. But if she doesn't, and she has a follow-up Herald, at this point, unless it's another Wartune Herald, we are baiting her into attacking with another Herald. And if she attacked with another Herald, it really doesn't matter which one it is. It could be Herald of Triumph as the follow-up, and we get to just pop with our Conqueror. And if Prism's turn ends, then we have a Conqueror. So here, we're going to block with the Conqueror, correctly anticipating that Prism did not have an Angelic Wrath and did have a follow-up. And so Prism ends her turn with no arsenal, and we draw back up to 4 cards. So we're in a really good spot already in this game. The hand that we draw into kind of plays itself. We could just send Conqueror of the High Seas, but we do have a King Shark Harpoon in hand, so we can pitch of Sift to break a gold, which will draw us a card and give us a Marlynn load. We'll have 1 floating resource, we will load King Shark Harpoon, and regardless of what we draw, we get to load Hammerhead and then shoot King Shark Harpoon for 10 with Overpower. That takes a Herald out of Prism's hand if she has one. We also get to use our gold-plated hook to generate a gold when we very likely hit. What could Prism do to stop us if we send 10 Overpower? She could play Soul Shield, block with a 3 block, and use her Phantasmal Footsteps, and in doing that she uses 3 cards to stop our King Shark Harpoon. But here's the thing. If Prism wants to give us Footsteps on turn 2, and we still have a deck full of poppers, more power to her. I'm all for it. And if we pitch Sift, break gold, draw a blue, off of our gold we get to load King Shark Harpoon, use Hammerhead, fire the Harpoon, and Arsenal Conqueror of the High Seas. We're just so far ahead in that situation. Now we do draw into a Battering Bolt, which is a real shame. We do get our free load, and we have 2 options here. We could either load the Battering Bolt, use Hammerhead, shoot the Battering Bolt for 10. It would not have Overpower because it isn't a Harpoon. We would not use Gold-Plated Hook because Battering Bolt is not a pirate attack. But if Prism has a non-block in hand, then we take it from her. Or we fire the King Shark Harpoon. We do get to give it Overpower. We do get to use Gold-Plated Hook. We potentially don't take anything from Prism's hand, but at the same time, if Prism has a hand of 4 non-attacks, I'm pretty okay with it. So I really like loading King Shark Harpoon here. It just sets us up better for future turns. At this point, we don't have a gold, and I would really like one. You saw already how good gold was for us. Getting to load this King Shark Harpoon that we otherwise would not have gotten to load. We would have sent Conqueror of the High Seas for 8 go again, but Prism doesn't have an arsenal, so it doesn't really matter. At this point, we get to send 10 Overpower. Prism just doesn't put a card in front of it. We make a gold from our gold-plated hook, and we see that Prism has 2 Angelic Wraths, a War-Tune Herald, and a Herald of Triumph. Herald of Triumph, War-Tune Herald both attack for 6. They will both get go again if Prism pitches the yellow Angelic Wrath. If Prism pitches the blue Angelic Wrath, we have to worry about the potential 9 damage, but Prism won't have go again. If she sends either one of these by pitching the yellow with go again, we have to worry about 8 damage. But we could anticipate that. We could block around it if we wanted to. It would have go again, but Prism would only have 1 floating resource and wouldn't be able to use the angel that she fetches if she flips it. Herald of Erudition doesn't really, Figment of Erudition doesn't really matter because Prism could take the intellect penalty. We have some options. So we're choosing between War-Tune Herald or Herald of Triumph. Because they both attack for the same amount, I like taking Herald of Triumph here just because it is harder to block. We can't pop it with a 6-power arrow, where we can pop Herald of Triumph. So the hand that we draw into does a few interesting things. It plays Gold the Tip, which is just +3. We don't have an arrow in arsenal currently. It then also plays 3 of a kind. We're 1 turn off of being able to Gold the Tip, use Spring Tunic, play 3 of a kind. So what I'm probably going to do here is just not block, because I don't need to. I need to put 6 in front of this Herald to stop the damage, and if I do that, Prism has Angelic Wrath to get it over the top. She grabs Figment of Erudition, she makes a Ponder, she gets a 5-card hand next turn. If I block 8 using my 2/3 blocks and Gold the Tip, intending to arsenal 3 of a kind to just pass, then Prism doesn't play Angelic Wrath and gets a 5-card hand next turn. So either way, Prism gets a 5-card hand. We can also just not block this. Prism gets something that isn't Figment of Erudition. She could play her Angelic Wrath, hit us for 8, grab Erudition, keep a 5-card hand. She could also just hit for 6, grab any other Figment, Arsenal the Angelic Wrath. If she does that, we know that she has an Angelic Wrath, and we can correctly anticipate that any herald she sends will have +2 on top of its printed power. So what I like doing here is just not blocking. We take 6, go to 34, Prism gets a Figment, our turn is going to be play Gold the Tip, pitch Murderous Rabble, play 3 of a kind, and then something happens. We see what the top 3 cards of our deck are. We will have at least 5 resources available to activate Hammerhead and shoot a Harpoon, and that Harpoon is going to attack for somewhere between 11 and 13. So this just seems fine. I mean, even if we're firing off a Goldfin Harpoon, we're chilling. We're chilling pretty hard in that case. So we'll see what Figment Prism gets. She grabs Figment of War, decides to flip it, has a Banked Courage token. We are going to play Gold the Tip, and then we are going to play 3 of a kind and see what we draw into. We draw into the King Shark Harpoon, a Money Where Your Mouth Is, and Sink Below. So we have not a ton of choices, honestly. We cannot play Money Where Your Mouth Is, unfortunately. So we're getting our Marlynn triggers. We're either going to load Bluefin Harpoon or King Shark Harpoon. Well, what are we going to do? One of these lets us send 13 Overpower on hit, take an attack action from your hand and make it gold. The other one sends not that, because if we have 3 reds in our hand, we can't even activate Hammerhead and shoot the Bluefin Harpoon. So we're loading King Shark. We get to pitch Bluefin Harpoon to activate Hammerhead, and then pitch a red to shoot our King Shark Harpoon. Which red do we want to keep? Considering that Prism will need to put 9 in front of the King Shark Harpoon in order to not get hit by it, that converts to a 3-block Herald plus Soul Shield for 6 plus a card to pitch for the Soul Shield. Makes me think that she is not going to have much of a crackback. I'm going to pitch the Sink Below. I'm going to keep Money Where Your Mouth Is, which if it hits will let us make a gold on a future turn. It gives us a good way to use our Spring Tunic. So we're just going to pitch the Sink Below and send the King Shark Harpoon and try to hold on to tempo here. I'm not activating Gold-Plated Hook. Honestly, at the time, I just forgot to do it. But I also think it's a good decision because we haven't seen a Soul Shield yet, and if Prism does have it, then we just get blown out. The advantage of Gold-Plated Hook on something like a Tipple turn, or when we get to pitch our Gold Gem, or a Loan Shark turn, is that it doesn't matter if we hit, it's just extra gold. Whereas here, if we had used our Gold-Plated Hook, we lose it, and then we would not have it for later in this game when we might need it. Prism just passes the turn, so we feel really good about not having the Sink Below and Arsenal, especially because we would not have a way to clear it from our arsenal. We would just take this turn off. We wouldn't be able to do anything if we still had a Sink Below and Arsenal. What I'm going to do now, because we don't have a Harpoon currently, is I am going to play Money Where Your Mouth Is, and I am going to pitch my Riches to do so. So I will make a gold, float a resource. We have to play the Money Where Your Mouth Is first because we need our arsenal empty so that we can load with Marlynn. I'm going to break a gold, see what we draw. Draw into a Redfin Harpoon. Do we feel good about that? Good is relative. We could keep digging if we wanted to. We have 2 floating resources. We can break a gold, draw a card, hope to draw into a red Harpoon. This Redfin Harpoon also isn't great against Prism specifically. She's already played a few Red Heralds. She doesn't play a ton of them because she needs yellow cards to get go again with Luminaris, and her blue cards pay for more 2-cost Herald and Angel attacks. So it isn't the best thing that we could be doing. At the same time, it is 11 Overpower on hit make 2 gold, because I do intend to activate my Gold-Plated Hook here. So I do like just loading the Redfin. We activate Hammerhead by pitching our Sift. We use our Spring Tunic in order to pay for the Redfin Harpoon. We're going to activate Gold-Plated Hook to make another gold. We don't need to play Loan Shark here, and I think this is a mistake. Yes, we are going to make a gold this turn. We just made gold with the Loan Shark, so this doesn't super matter, but I would like to have the Loan Shark in arsenal for a future turn when I would want to activate my gold-plated hook, and maybe Prism has a Figment out, or an Angel out, and is going to have that damage prevention, and now we can play around another Soul Shield blowing us out because we would have made a gold in a different way. More to the point, we just didn't need to play Loan Shark here, right? We didn't need 2 gold. We already had 3 gold. We weren't going to break any of it this turn, so the Loan Shark just doesn't really matter. We could have withheld information. We could have had to play for a future turn. This is just a mistake. Against Prism, we don't have any reason specifically to not have an arsenal. We're not worried about Command and Conquer. There's no Leave No Witnesses, so just a weird play there. I don't really know why I did that. In any case, we deal 8. Prism shows us a hand of 3 non-reds, although having blocked with red Herald of Protection, we feel really good about the fact that we fire that harpoon rather than trying to dig further and not having a great attack. What do we think that she's going to do on her turn? We think that she is going to pitch Herald of Judgment to play Herald of Triumph, is going to potentially play Angelic Wrath to get over the top. If she doesn't, she could play Pierce Reality, but we know that there is a Herald coming for potentially 8 with Go Again that will have a Pierce Reality coming behind it. So currently Dreamweaver's being used. Also, this Herald is attacking for 7 because of the Courage, so we can't pop it. Thankfully, what Prism doesn't know is our hand doesn't pop anyway. What we can do is a few things. We could take the damage, and if we take 7 here, Prism Angelic Wraths it up to 9, grabs Figment of Erudition, makes a Ponder, plays Pierce Reality, then passes the turn, draws a card. She doesn't need to flip Figment of Erudition, and in fact would not, because she can't attack with it this turn, unless she wanted to pitch her Pierce Reality, which is not a bad play for her, honestly, now that we're talking about it out loud. So how do we want to deal with this? If we got to keep this hand, we would get to use the Tipple line, which would be pretty cool, but just involves taking too much damage from my taste. We can put 7 in front of the Triumph using Yellowfin Harpoon, Dockside Exchange, Portside Exchange, and Gold-Plated Hook. Prism will play her Angelic Wrath. We will play our Sink Below. We will not sink the Tipple. And Prism either plays Pierce Reality or, well, she does because she'll have an action point. There's no reason not to. I like blocking for 7 here. If Prism, for whatever reason, doesn't play the Angelic Wrath, we get to pitch a Sink Below, attack with Golden Tipple, do the Tipple line. If she does play Angelic Wrath, we play Sink Below, and should not sink the Tipple. We can just arsenal it. So this seems fine. She plays the Angelic Wrath, we play the Sink Below. We should not sink the Tipple, although sinking it into 3 of a kind is really good. Another card that we can't play this turn, but still a fine card to have. Here we end up losing 2 life to our Loan Shark, and you can see why I didn't want to have played the Loan Shark on the previous turn. We could have played it this turn, and then we don't lose 2 life. And we have a hand that says that we get to make gold going forward, so we would have not lost the Loan Shark this turn either. Just a waste to have played it 2 turns ago instead of last turn, when we had a little more space to do so and would have benefited by not taking 2 damage. Prism using Halo to find Figment of Protection is kind of cool for us. The fact that she, I mean, for one thing, had a terrible hand of apparently 4 non-blocks and no attacks is great. It also meant that she pitched Figment of Triumph, which if she did have an attack, she would not have been able to Halo into Figment of Triumph, and our Battering Bolt or King Kraken Harpoons would have worked as poppers. But Prism makes an Angel, and we have a decision to make of how we're going to navigate this turn. So what we should do, and I don't believe I'm going to see it, I'm not familiar enough with Tipple at this point, the Tipple line, as I've called it, is you activate Marlynn, sacrifice a gold, make a Goldfin Harpoon in your hand, pitch a card, attack with Golden Tipple, discard your Goldfin Harpoon, which is yellow. Tipple triggers, you make a gold, you draw a card. So effectively, using your Marlynn hero power, you have turned 1 gold into 1 gold and a card in hand. It's a great line. That's why this list is running 9 Tipples, but it only works if you already have a Harpoon. If you need your Goldfin Harpoon to actually deal damage that turn, then you should not do the Tipple play. You should have a Goldfin Harpoon and then get it into your arsenal somehow. But here we could pull it off, and it would involve activating Marlynn, sacrificing gold, making a Goldfin Harpoon, pitching Portside Exchange, attacking with Golden Tipple, discarding the Goldfin Harpoon, then we miss our Marlynn trigger because our arsenal is full, but we still have, see, and here I just missed it. I'm not familiar enough with the deck yet to know what I'm supposed to do with my gold, but here we've just missed drawing a card, which I assume would have been really nice. We do get a block out of Prism at least. We're going to break the chain, we're going to play 3 of a kind, and we're going to see what we draw into. So we draw into a blue, a red, and a yellow. I don't know off the top of my head what was on top of my deck. If it was another blue, then we're probably really missing out on some significant damage. What we can do with this hand is load, I think the proper load should be Battering Bolt. We pitch our red fin harpoon, blue fin harpoon to load, activate Hammerhead. Then we pitch King Kraken Harpoon and sink below to send a Battering Bolt for 10 and just go fishing for Prism's hand. I don't think the King Kraken Harpoon is going to do enough, and the blue fin harpoon is necessary in order to pay for Hammerhead. Prism just doesn't really have non-attack actions for King Kraken. I mean, she's got maybe Passing Mirage, Pierce Reality, but most of her deck are instants and attack actions. We see 3 attack actions here, so while the Battering Bolt also doesn't do anything, the King Kraken Harpoon definitely wouldn't have done anything. And we get to arsenal a gold tip. So looking at Prism's hand, she's got a yellow and 2 Wartune Heralds. I'm assuming her turn is going to be Wartune Herald, Wartune Herald. We get to decide if we want to respect that or if we want to, we have a blue on top of our deck. So because we have a blue on top of our deck, now we know that we would have been attacking with Bluefin Harpoon for 8 with Overpower. Yes, Prism had the Angel, but she would have blocked with that blue Herald of Protection from blue Wartune Herald, and then her turn would just be Herald of Protection for 6 go again, and we would feel much better blocking that. So she sends the Wartune Herald for 8 with go again. We just can't easily cover that. We could give 2 3 blocks and our Perch Grapplers. We could give 3 3 blocks, cover up 9, and then get hit by the Wartune Herald for 5, which is not a bad play. It means that Prism is going to find Herald, Figment of Erudition, make the Ponder, have a 5-card hand on the next turn. Our turn looks a little worse. We are playing Gold Tip. We are pitching Energy Potion to crack a gold. We've activated Marlynn at this point because we need the Goldfin Harpoon just to make sure that we have something to do on our turn to get value out of the Gold Tip. We're hoping that we draw into another blue so that we can activate Hammerhead and then just send Goldfin Harpoon for 9 Overpower. And honestly, now that I'm saying it out loud, it seems like a pretty good line. So what I would like to do here is put 9 in front of the Wartune Herald, then get hit by the second Wartune Herald, go to 27, let Prism set up that 5-card hand with Figment of Erudition, but probably not flipped. So we're threatening 9, which is not lethal, but is still a lot of damage. What we can do instead, if we don't block the Wartune Herald, is take a ton of damage. I'm going to play through this because my Prism is going to undo this turn. At some point we can talk more about the line as the game progresses. If we don't block this, we have 6 gold and 4 blues. So what we can do is pitch a ton of blues, draw a ton of cards with gold, and just look for a big harpoon. Just look for that big red harpoon that is going to come in for 13 with overpower, wreck Prism's board, and hopefully get her hand with it. And that is what I have elected to do here. With 32 health, we have the advantage of being able to just take a bunch of damage to keep a 5-card hand with 6 gold. And I don't think this is wrong. I think that the big 9 overpower line, potentially with Goldfin Harpoon, is fine. If we don't draw a blue, then we don't get to give overpower. We're sending just 5, which is really not impressive. So I think this is the correct line now that I'm watching it back. We had that life lead. We can give a bunch of health here. Just keep a hand that's going to draw a ton of cards and look for that big harpoon. We also have other really good draws in our deck. If we draw into another 3 of a kind, we still have our Perch Grapplers, and we have a ton of gold that we will be able to use to load our arsenal. At this point, we've encountered a bug in the game where the Prism, for whatever reason, isn't able to target me with Herald of Sikhem. They're only able to, or sorry, they aren't able to target me with Figment of Ravages, which is what they chose to get after putting the Wartune Herald into, after putting the yellow into Soul with Herald of Sikhem. So they ended up shooting the Soraya, and we just decided, hey, you know, if I get to 1 life, I can see the game. It's not gonna matter later. So now we just start with our gold to tip, because we want to be able to load our arsenal if we draw into a harpoon that we like. And we're just going to start pitching blues, baby. So at this point, we can just continue to crack gold. We haven't used our Marlynn yet. We know that we have a golden tipple if we wanted to take the tipple line. We're still missing a harpoon. And I want to know that I'm going to have a harpoon before I start thinking about using Marlynn to draw a card with tipple. What we instead draw into is a 3 of a kind, which is really interesting. So now we have a decision to make. If we fire off this 3 of a kind, we can no longer attack with tipple this turn. Do we want to hold on to our Marlynn ability to make a Goldfin Harpoon that we can attack with later? Or do we want to send tipple and try to find another arrow? I am intending to break Perch Grapplers at this point, because we still have a ton of resources available. We're going to draw 3 cards. I'm assuming that we're going to have multiple harpoons in there, and we're going to keep drawing cards off of the gold in order to load with Marlynn. So what I like doing here is just playing 3 of a kind. I mean, this is fine too. We draw into the harpoon, which is sick, but the reason that I don't want to draw with tipple is that at some point I am intending to use Marlynn to make a Goldfin Harpoon, and then use that Goldfin Harpoon to attack Parable of Humility. So what I'm going to do now is load King Kraken Harpoon with a Marlynn trigger. I'm going to activate Hammerhead. I'm going to break Perch Grapplers. I'm going to send the King Kraken Harpoon at Prism for, should be 12 overpower, if I'm not mistaken, because it should have been 13, but we are parabled. And because of Perch Grapplers, it has to go again. And the follow-up is going to be using Tunic to play 3 of a kind, which will lock down our hand as far as playing additional cards, but it does not stop us from breaking gold to draw cards to activate Marlynn. Looking at Prism's hand, we see 3 different heralds. We've got a blue, a yellow, and a red Wartune Herald, which we will reveal with the King Kraken Harpoon for no benefit, just because we need to resolve the effect. We're going to Tunic 3 of a kind and see what we draw into. We draw into another King Kraken Harpoon. Unfortunate. We would love to see a King Shark Harpoon here. We are also going to see a blue, which will enable us to pay for the King Kraken Harpoon attack. And we see a Lone Shark, which will probably get pitched to a gold. So using the Marlynn triggers, we are going to load the King Kraken Harpoon. We will shoot it at Prism. Prism will need to block it in some way. It is only attacking for 5 because of Parable, but it does threaten lethal. So Prism needs to put some kind of something in front of it. We could have thought about using the gold-plated hook here just to make another gold. We haven't made any gold this turn, and we're not going to make any gold this turn. We can't play the lone shark, but, I mean, it's fine, right? This doesn't super matter. So at this point, we cannot threaten lethal with a goldfin harpoon, but we can clear the Parable of Humility, which will let us use any 6-power arrows as poppers. We know that Prism does not seem to have anything that would be able to stop us from popping a Herald, unless this card in her arsenal is Celestial Rebuke, Celestial Reprimand, pitch stacking here, whatever. We've got a Herald of Protection coming in for 8 go again. If this hits, it will make a Spectral Shield, it will find a Herald, it will allow Prism to flip the Herald, it will put us to 3. I really hate getting hit by this. Thankfully we have a 6-power attack in our hand, so we can just pop with the King Shark Harpoon. I think this is the turn where I realize that Golden Tipple has relevant text when you are Marlynn. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just going to discard a yellow tipple instead. That is what I do. But we are sending 2. This is threatening to put Prism down to 1, which it will do. And now is when I realize that Golden Tipple has text. So what we get to do now is finally make the Goldfin Harpoon, send at Prism, we make another gold, we draw another card, and we rip the blue. That allows us to send Conqueror of the High Seas, which will threaten lethal. And Prism with 2 non-blocks in hand is just going to die. She did have Arclight Sentinels, and she just never drew them, because if she ever draws an Arclight Sentinel that game, then we do just die. Our turn is significantly worse because we've spent a bunch of resources and action points on Hammerhead that now has to get shot at an ALS. Interesting game. This list is great. I loved playing this deck. It had really interesting things going on. Golden Tipple is a real powerhouse. Just being able to make a bunch of gold in order to easily load harpoons into Arsenal did seem really nice. But even so, when you look at our average value per turn, kind of low. This is a very interesting deck. I think that Marlynn is positioned to be Ranger Guardian, but the fickleness of your King Kraken, King Shark on hits, the fact that you need to commit so many resources into actually activating Hammerhead, and then based on the deck you're playing against, your opponent either doesn't have something that you can discard or has reactions, defense reactions, attack reactions that they can cover the overpower with, just has the potential to make the deck a little awkward. So I'm going to be putting more time into it for sure, and we've got more Marlynn videos coming up over this week and the next, but really interesting deck. Not more dynamic than traditional Guardian, but not as just generally good as traditional Guardian is. I hope you enjoyed this game. I hope you learned something. If so, be sure to harpoon that like button. My comments are always open for any questions or feedback. If you haven't already done so, please consider a YouTube subscription. It's free. It helps me out a lot. I have a Blue Sky, a Discord, and a Patreon, links to which are in the video description below. I will be back with more daily FaB gameplay, and until then, take care.